Welcome to Punctuating for Court Reporters, video number 61. Punctuating now, then, please, and to. I'm Ken Wick. Let's get started. So this is going to be a brief video covering how do you punctuate now and then at the beginning of a sentence. Punctuating the word please in a sentence. And punctuating the word to in a sentence. So how do you punctuate now and then at the beginning of a sentence? Well, if now and then begin a sentence and the word, now or then, has the basic meaning of well, use a comma because the word is being used as a parenthetical expression. So the easiest way to determine this is just substitute now and then with the word well, and see if you can really substitute the word well then there. And if you can, then you have a parenthetical expression and use a comma. If now and then relate to time or sequence, do not use a comma. So some examples. Now, that's a fast motorcycle, because you can substitute the word well here. Well, that's a fast motorcycle. So it's being used as a transitional expression. Therefore, you need a comma. Next example is I was 15 in 1970. Now I'm old. So this is not relating to, it's not a transitional expression, it's sort of time and sequence, because you can't really say, well, I'm old, now I'm old, because it's really referring to the time. So you can't really substitute the word well here. So since you can't, it's relating to time or sequence, then it's no comma. This is how I memorize it if you don't know. I usually memorize it this way. If it's regarding sequence or time, no comma. Turn the knob a quarter turn to the left, then slowly back to the right. So you can't really substitute well here. Well, slowly back. No, that doesn't make sense. You're talking about sequence. This is an obvious sequence. You're turning, then you're doing something. So now or then is referring to sequence, so no comma. So punctuating please gets a little bit more complicated here, depending on your style guide. If please occurs at the beginning of a sentence, do not use a comma. And the rule in LMEG is if please occurs in the middle of a sentence, do not use a comma unless it's an interruption. It's a little subjective if you don't know. So it's no comma unless it's an interruption, then use a comma. But the BGGP and the Greg's Reference Manual says if please occurs in the middle of a sentence, do not use a comma. And then basically all the style guides agree if please occurs at the end of a sentence, use a comma. Because basically there, please is being used as actually an afterthought if you don't know. So the examples are please speak louder. So here we have please at the beginning of the sentence, no comma. And then here we have please in the middle of a sentence. It's not an interruption. Can you please speak louder? This is an example of not an interruption. My next example is an interruption. So LMEG would punctuate this with commas. Show us, please, where you were sitting at the time. Notice how I paused and said the word please. So LMEG would actually put commas around this, but the BGGP and the Greg's Reference Manual would not. Show us, please, where you were sitting. Even though it's an interruption, they would not set this off with commas. And at the end of a sentence, can you speak louder, please, would use a comma. So that's using please. Effectively, how I use it is I do not use commas with please, only if it's at the end of a sentence. So I basically follow like the Greg's Reference Manual. So no comma unless it comes at the end. So, but if you're following LMEG, technically if it falls in the middle, it's an interruption, you need to put commas around it. But the Greg's Reference Manual says no. So punctuating the word to. Basically, the BGGP says do not use commas I know put comma or commas since it can occur in the middle. Do not use commas to separate two. Even though I see a comma at the end of a sentence or all the time. LMEG, the Greg's Reference Manual and Chicago Manual Style, do not use a comma to separate two unless it comes between the subject and the verb. That's the key. So I was just saying, you'll see it all the time at the end of a sentence, but that's incorrect. So I want a bigger piece of the pie too. I see it all the time with a comma here. It's actually incorrect according to the style manuals. To all the style manuals, it's incorrect. So, and then this sentence, you too should be in Hawaii. So the BGGP would not put commas around this. But the LMEG, GRM, or Greg's Reference Manual, and the Chicago Manual Style would, because two is coming between the subject and the verb. Here's the subject, you. The verb should be, and it's coming between subject and the verb. So they say, these style manuals say, put commas as separated. So you too should be in Hawaii. This is how these three would punctuate it. Well, that's it. There's a short video. I can ask you to subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like. And check out my videos and books. Thank you.